Nicole Kali, BlackRockers United, and Kelvin Kaoz, our special guest, the Fresh Prince of Darkness,
Hey!
is here for our 16th Brew Talk. Wow. Thanks for joining us.
I'm ecstatic to be here.
Yes. How is everything on your end, Kelvin?
You know, this year has been tough for a lot of people, and I want to say it has not been tough for me in the same ways. It has been more just uncovering the things that I needed to do and it got rid of all the things that I didn't need.
Yeah.
It showed me the fakeness and the futility of all the things that I was doing and allowed me to really focus on the things that I really, really like are very important to me.
Okay, so it was revealing for you.
Yeah, with the global pandemic, you know, it was kind of terrifying at first. You're like, oh, you know, lots of, you know, relationships that I had started to break down. But I realized I had been going in my own direction for so long up to this point that, you know, I won't say I was afraid to break away, but yeah, I was afraid to be out on my own, to actually be doing. My roommate like just moved out on me. He just like, hey, see you later.
Whew. Yeah, I heard that happen a lot, and I'm sorry. You know, that's rough. You know, especially unexpectedly as a musician, it's I need roommates.
Oh my God, yeah. And the fucked up part, he's also a musician, so he knew, and he just didn't even tell me. He didn't give me like a heads up or anything. He's just like, hey, I'm out. But like I said, the cool thing about that was we were trying to start a kids music program together, and right, but he would never really want to do it. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. It was mostly me, and I would be waiting on him to give me his part, and he would never do it. So when he moved out on me, I was like, oh, okay, that's why, because he had no intention on doing that. So that means I need to be more focused and not be waiting on other people. Yeah, so that happened, and there was a company that I worked for that I had been working for years. Their company, you know, started to get kind of, because of COVID, it was a summer camp, like for art. So they would do acting, music, singing, dancing, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And because of everything that happened, I ended up doing a partnership with her so that we could work together. That it didn't end up working out, so I had to start my company by myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then another thing, this is all kind of friendship related, and is that I was supposed to have a song in NBA 2K21.
Oh snap!
Yeah, with this rapper I was working with. And so he just stopped hitting me up. Like one day he was like, yeah, man, I just signed a contract, blah, 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 blah. Like, we're going to get a song in blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm telling everybody, okay, everybody, I got the song in 2K21. He's like, don't tell anybody until the deal's been finalized. It never happened. And he has like 10 of my beats with his voice on it. And I was like, oh, okay, I just got to take. What I ended up doing for my new EP was just recording my own voice on those tracks that I used and trying to copyright them and publishing them on my own company.
Genius. And
that's why I started my publishing company, because I was like, all right, dudes are trying to jack me, so I must be doing something right.
Yeah. Wow, they just kind of like ghosted on you and then tried to repurpose your art without you. But in that, you found that you had your own voice.
Yeah, and that's why I started putting out more of my own tracks, because I was like, okay, if I can't be sleeping on myself, like, well, I don't think I'm that tight, when people are clearly taking advantage of what I'm doing. So I was like, all right, that's fake. That's got to go. You can no longer live beneath where you're at in life. You must come, you got to elevate yourself.
Yeah.
So, you know, at first I was mad at that person, but it's like, are you really mad? Or you should be mad at yourself for not having enough wherewithal to have more value for yourself. I shouldn't have been working with him in the first place.
It's so true. Yeah. Looking back in hindsight, you're realizing how much you're worth. And I love to hear that, Kelvin. It's so cool. Yeah. Rock on. Yo, this background is a mood, by the way.
Oh.
Yes.
I thought it was the same as yours. I was like, hey, we got
very Zodiac, haunted, I dig.
Yeah, wait, here, check out my blanket, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I love that post you made. You're like, this is what we do year round. No posers. Alternative culture, education, and all combines beautifully in what you do, right?
Yeah, that was the intention. So I did go to music school. and I studied a lot of business, like the business aspect of music. And we were very focused on building your own brand and selling music that way, because, you know, I went to school very technical. So I'm like classically trained, all of that stuff. But it doesn't matter if you can't sell it.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have an audience, you're like, yes, I play guitar very well. And so?
Yeah, they want to get to know you. Why do they care about you as a musician? So you learned that aspect of how to market yourself in a really cool way.
Well, that I didn't learn. That I invented, because I tried the other way. I was, you know, a classical guitar player. And the thing about that is it's racist. And I don't want to say it's an excuse, because it's not, but I don't like to really harp on like, oh, that's racist, because I still think you got to get over. Say like The Rock, right? Like The Rock was the first Black champion in the WWE. He also became a huge movie star, and he's not a great actor.
Yeah.
And I always thought this. I said, so yeah, we could say he sucks at acting, but if Tom Cruise is a better actor and The Rock makes more money, who's winning?
I mean, that's a good point. Is it charisma? Is it that despite the barriers, he's more charismatic?
It's not even that. It's like, I think of it as in the turn of your soul magic. Like if you're fully activated at what you believe that you deserve, then nothing else even matters.
That's really cool. Yeah. That's
like you
transcendental.
can you can destroy all beliefs. If somebody says, you're not supposed to do that, and he's like, oh yeah? Now I'm the richest motherfucker on earth. And what? So
that's so true.
And he came from like toilet humor.
He did. No one expected him to rise to those heights, you know, much in the way that you had naysayers, I'm sure, as well.
Oh yeah.
And now, like, look at where you are. That must be really surreal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man, especially like, yeah, I had a lot of naysayers. A lot of people that you're probably friends with actually don't like me.
No love.
Yeah,
no love. I have much love for you, but I can also see, you know, not everyone is going to see the vision, you know?
And I get that. You know, I always look at things from what works. You know, like, again, people hate Tekashi 6ix9ine. I was like, I wouldn't waste my time hating somebody that is more successful than me. I would like to learn what he did and try to apply it to myself. And I don't think there's too many things that I can apply. I think that... Again, he put himself out in a way that nobody else was willing to put themselves out into.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, you know, like in the future, like you might not know much about him except for how he marketed himself. He is part of that new media. Like, how do you put yourself out there? Definitely.
Yeah, and they took advantage of that. And you say this guy has no talent, but I think that putting yourself out there is the talent.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Very subjective though. How do you put yourself out there in a way that is not too overeager and people can tell that you're faking it?
Oh, now that's my favorite question, because to me it's authenticity. If you authentically believe what you're doing, then you can put yourself out as much as you want, because it's like you're living in your own world. Like I have my own little world that I have created that just has gotten so big. It's like if it's a solar system, it starts to grow with influence because people are sharing it. They're like, hey, have you seen this nigga? He's crazy. You know, what is he doing? That's kind of cool. I like that. Yeah. And it starts to get bigger and bigger, and it starts to engulf other ones, or starts to be attached to other ones.
Yeah, it's a system, and it's expanding.
Yeah, it's like it starts to expand and it starts to eclipse. And that, again, that's from being authentic. And if you're not authentic, you can't do it frequently. That's why a lot of people have mental issues, or some of their issues were like, oh man, I'm having a mental breakdown, is because they're not often living in what is say the way that I create my content is all stuff that I would normally do. I do this, what I'm doing every day. So when I turn the camera on, I was already doing that. I just go, hey, let me document this real quick.
Yeah.
But if I am going, I have to create this content that is me, and I must be very controlling of my existence and my experience and people experiencing me, that's going to stress you out because it's not real, you know, or you're trying to control everything. You want to control how people see you. You cannot control how people see you. You can only control yourself and what you're doing. Like I can write the music, I can, create the content, I can send the emails. After that, how people respond to me is entirely up to them. And I have to leave it that way. And I have to respond to them how I would respond to them authentically. Whereas a lot of people, they'll think, I have to be really, really nice to all of my followers. Like, well, if it warrants it, yeah. But if it doesn't, it wouldn't make sense for me to just, oh, you're a fan of mine, thank you so much for, like I had somebody on my page and say, you look like the Fresh Prince of Lightness one day, because I'm light skinned. And I said, well, you look like you eat ass. Get the fuck out of here. And I could say like, oh, that hurt my mental. I'm so upset that person says something negative to me, or I handle it like I would in real life, and I would challenge you to a fight.
I love it, Kelvin.
That's probably what I would do. Like straight up, it was like in real life, somebody came up to me and said like, hey, yeah, I'm like, do you want to get your ass whooped? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you want to get fucked up. And then I just leave it like that. And, like I said, I'll have, people tell me, oh, I love the way you talk. And I'm like, I don't need your approval for that. Thanks.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm not doing this for you. You are entertained by it. And I'm thankful that you are entertained by it. But this is about me and how I want to act. And my art is about is inspiring you to be yourself. Is to not be fake. The Fresh Prince of Darkness is all about uncovering the darkness, is to shine the light on the darkness. Whereas like I know a lot of people who are very rude to their loved ones and are fake nice to people in public.
Yeah.
And I've always thought it should go the opposite way. Why would I be nice to people I don't like and be mean to people that I do like? That never made sense to me.
Yeah.
So I want to flip that, and I want to be dedicated to the people that I love. I want to be vulnerable and show them how I care about them. And then the people that I'm not friends with, I want you to know that I don't like you. I don't want you to think that I'm friends with you just because you came on my page and followed me. You don't dictate what I do because you're a supporter. That's like the customer is always right syndrome. You're not correct. Just because you donated or whatever doesn't mean you get to dictate what I do. I was already doing this.
That's so true. Have you had that conversation with folks before?
Definitely, yeah. Actually, that's what I was talking about on the business consult, because what I get a lot when I'm helping people start their social media accounts is they're like, I don't really know how to interact with people on the internet. Like, I'm afraid that I'm going to say something and I'm going to get canceled. It's kind of what everyone is, or they're afraid that their true personality is not going to get them any sales. And I said, no, your true personality will get you sales. Your fake self is going to be confusing to someone, because if you come off as inauthentic, they're going to be like, well, what does this person stand for? But you have to tell us what you stand for. Otherwise, we won't trust you.
Yeah.
Right? And it can change. Absolutely. You might have felt this way about a thing before, and then your mind has changed, and you can let the audience know. And some of your audience members might be unhappy about that. But again, life is like a video game you're playing, and you're the only person that's actually playing. Everyone else is playing their own video game as well. And, we could say if, Joe Schmo that was offended that I stopped doing music a certain way, that I stopped rapping and I started playing guitar again. He's like, you sold out. I'm like, what do you do? What have you done that was different lately? You might have used a different pair of drawers that you don't use no more, that I would be upset about. Why don't you wear those dirty drawers you used to wear, George?
I love that. That's cute. That's true.
No, I'm saying it's easy for people to jump on their favorite influencer, jump on their favorite celebrity. Like, we want to scrutinize these people to take away from scrutinizing ourselves. But I do a lot of self-scrutinizing, a lot of self-reflection. And I'm prepared. I like when people tell me, I have a problem with you, because I like to check it. I'm like, yeah, what is the problem? And someone could say to me, a lady told me once when I was playing a live show that I looked really stiff. And I said, I reject that. And she says, you're being sensitive. I said, because I rejected what you said, No, I just chose to not accept that comment.
Yeah.
I don't have to accept what you said. You could be right to you and I can be right to me and we can still be friends.
Cool way of looking at it.
Yeah, and when people say like you have to accept your criticism, for what? Why would I do that? I'm criticizing myself already. I know what I did wrong. That was not on the list. If it was, I would have been open to that. I would have been like, I looked at the video again and I was like, nah, I thought I did really well, actually, as a matter of fact.
Oh, that's really cool. I'm glad that you're comfortable and that you can stand your ground enough to say, I feel comfortable in myself.
Yeah, I mean, I want to normalize that because it's a thing, you know, where we're all like, oh, you know, I'm not that good at this. Everybody says that. If you say, I am excellent at this, you are arrogant. I'm like, why are we glorifying people that put themselves down? That's called humility, to be like, I'm not that good. I didn't play guitar every day since I was 11 years old to say that I'm not that good at it. No, I would not ever say that. I would say there are things that I need to work on. There are things that I want to get better at. There are plenty of things that I can do that are better. Absolutely. But to say that I'm trash at it would be ridiculous. I would never say that.
So true. Yeah, performance in the scene, they seem very natural to you. So when did you first start playing music and when did you first become Kelvin Kaoz?
See, I love these questions. Yes. Well, I've been a performer since I was 6 or 7.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I went to a performance arts school in South Central, a Black-owned performance arts school where they taught kids how to act and dance and do all that stuff. And I started playing violin when I was 10, and it was just to get out of my 5th grade class because I couldn't stand my teacher. So they said, take violin, you can get out of class. I was like, great. I was a terrible violinist, very awful. But you had to give the violin back. I wanted to be a violinist though. I was like, yes, I want to be like Paganini. And so I call my dad. I say, hey, Dad, I want a violin. And my dad's like, here, have this electric guitar. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do with an electric guitar. And he goes, well, violins are for sissies. All right, whatever. So my dad angst, my teenage dad angst, I refused to play it until somebody told me that the greatest guitar player of all time was Jimi Hendrix.
Oh my gosh, right?
Right, and I didn't believe him because at the time, remember, this is like 2000 when I was in high school, right? So everybody's like rapping, you know, like there's like, I think 50 Cent's out, you know, like
the explosion of rap metal, and very much if you wanted to just do rock, you were gonna have a hard time. It was gonna be this.
Yeah. So I didn't want to do that.
It was that
right?
time.
This is like before. This is when rock was still kind of weird. I would like sneak and listen to rock in my headphones and stuff, but I didn't want anybody to know. Yeah, but I didn't want anybody to know because I was already like a weird kid. Everybody did know. Yeah. But I was like, I'm thinking in my mind, they don't know because, you know, they're like, oh, that's white boy shit. And I'm like,
exactly.
I'm just not going to tell anybody. So this guy says, well, Jimi Hendrix was the best guitar player ever. And I was like, is Jimi Hendrix black? Yes. I was like, okay, hell yeah. So I listened to one song, All Along the Watchtower. I thought it was the best song I ever heard. I go that day to Amoeba. I know you guys don't know this, but Amoeba is like the largest record store, very famous out here for having every single record. They closed down recently or they moved. Well, they moved. So they're in a smaller location, but it used to be huge, like just rows and rows and rows of CDs, vinyls, whatever. And I went and bought all 3 of the studio albums like that day and just like listened to them all like for the next 6 months.
Wow. So you just jammed on music for like half a year.
Yeah, it was like, okay, that's what I want to do. So I'm trying to play, and I'm terrible. I want to say I was terrible for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, you had to play and really get acclimatized to it.
Yeah, well, I couldn't afford lessons, so I was, and this was before YouTube was a thing. So I'm just like,
way before that, right?
Yeah, so I had a subscription to a Guitar World, and I'm just like looking at the tabs and trying to play along and listen, and it was very hard.
Yeah, tell me, what was the process? What made it difficult, you know?
I didn't know anybody else that was playing. It was primarily it was just me and the radio. And I'm not even hanging out. It wasn't until like, I want to say I was like 17 or 18 is when I started hanging out with the other rocker dudes.
17 or 18. So from when you basically first started playing violin until you started meeting rockers, you were kind of just vibing by yourself, getting used to the music and the scene.
Yeah, it was just me and myself and no other players. My mom's like loves music, but she's not really into rock. So, you know, it was just me by myself, just making noise. My neighbors hated me. There's this lady that was on this Netflix show recently. Her name is Tamara Simmons, I think. And I forget the name of the show that was on Netflix, but she was my neighbor. And I remember she used to come knock on my door all the time and be like, can you turn that off? You're really awful.
Were you though, or was she just like?
No, I was terrible.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I wasn't even trying. I was just like, yeah.
You were grooving to it. It was how you were getting intimate with rock, because rock is very much just like, at first it's like,
Yeah, and I didn't think I wanted to be a professional musician. I was like a graphic designer. I was a painter. I was drawing things. So music was just like my hobby.
Exactly.
It wasn't something I really planned on getting good at. I actually just liked the sound of loud noise. A guy showed me Man on the Silver Mountain by Rainbow.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, it's just power chords and you
super
play them all together. Bum, 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 bum. And I was like, fuck yeah, I want to do that shit. This is dope. And I took those lessons, and I took a lesson in college, and I was one of the better students in the class. And he says, hey, do you want to join a guitar ensemble? I'm like, what the fuck's a guitar ensemble? And he's like, it's like 30 guitar players, and we would play, you know, like an arrangement of a orchestra piece or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I learned how to read. That's when I like started to play the guitar as not just, you know, like a rock and roll instrument, but like an orchestral instrument. And after that, I was sold. I was like, okay, I want to be a musician now. This is really cool. And so I studied in college. In college, I took every single class because I was there all the time, and the school was right down the street from my house. So I took singing, I took piano, I took guitar, I took bass, I took jazz choir, college choir, opera, whatever classes because everything was free. So I was like, I'm going to take advantage of this. Free school. They gave me money to go. I got a scholarship, so I was studying with the president of the American Guitar Society.
What?
Yeah. And this is like a person who didn't know how to play at all, really.
Oh.
From 20. Yeah, like this happened from age 20 to 24.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, so I get a scholarship to go to Loyola. Loyola is a school that's local here as well, and that's where I studied with the president of the Guitar Foundation of America, this lady Martha Masters. And I started meeting all these people in the classical guitar world, and you know, then I became a dealer, so I was dealing classical guitars.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and you know, like $50,000 instruments. Very, very like pieces that people will never play again. Like Andres Segovia is the most well-known classical guitarist. Like I played his last guitar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was insane. Yeah. Then I got let go. And after I got let go, I was like, what do I do now? Oh my God. So I was teaching at all these local schools, and this is still not Kelvin Kaoz yet. I'm just regular ass Kelvin, you know, trying to, you know, join bands at night, trying to figure out how to, you know, do something music related because, you know, I finished school and now I don't know what to do.
Right.
So, you know, I started playing in all the local R&B bands because, again, you know, racism, you're like, I play rock and roll. If you're not dressed like a rock star, you can play the songs. It doesn't matter. They're like, bro, what the fuck? And I'm like, well, these shits cost a lot of money. I don't want to pay for any of that. You know, I would see the guys roll up with the ratty t-shirts with the holes in them and stuff, and they would get on stage, and I was like, yo, this is bullshit. Okay. Yeah. So I started going to the black clubs, and that's a different story because, you know, they're only playing R&B. So I'm like, I don't know any R&B songs. What the fuck is this shit?
Oh, yeah, you were trying to find your spot, and you didn't know.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, the only paying gigs you could get was like, you got to be a church member. So I'm like, man, I don't even church like that. Like, and I wasn't like a I rebuke the church, you know, type of person. I went to church for years and years and I hated it. I'll never go back. It was like my mom never made me go.
Exactly.
So I did not even understand the concept of praise and worship. None of that made any sense to me. I'm like, No, like, did you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior? I'm like, no.
No.
You need to get baptized. I was like, I think I was baptized when I was a kid. I'm circumcised.
Oh, so adorable. See, like, exactly. Tell them.
Right? So I have no idea. So I'm just learning the songs. I'm just like staying over there, learning all the songs, all of that, trying to get the stuff that I missed while I was in classical school. I'm trying to get all that back.
Okay.
I also grew up listening to R&B and soul and hip hop before I even got into rock music, but I just never learned it on the guitar because I was like, I'm a rock star. So I was like, well, I got to figure out how to make money somehow. So I'm going to do that. Yeah. Did that, found out that doesn't pay either. It's the same thing. It's like they want people that look like really urban. Like, I don't know if that's the right word.
It kind of is, yeah. It's kind of like a demographic is, like, it's not real, but it's a demographic is urban, yeah.
Yeah. But then it was like everybody was dressing like me, like how I dress.
Oh.
Right? But nobody was a rock star. I was like, wait, what the shit is this? You guys aren't rock stars, but they're all dressing with the holy pants, Iron Maiden shirts and stuff like that. Nobody listens to Iron Maiden. I'm like, this is bullshit. So I started saying, you know what? There's got to be people like me who actually like rock music, who were ignored. Let me find them on the internet. And so I started finding them, and I found your group, right? So yeah, it's a coalition I was a member of, and there's this guy that I had beef with named Oscar, where some of the older cats were being offensive to me, and I think it was because I look really young. I'm 34.
Okay.
But, you know, I'm getting like, you look like you're 22, you're 23, you don't know nothing about music, your guitar playing's not that good, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, we're all Black and we're all alternative. There's no way that you guys should be disrespecting us. Even if you do think I'm trash, nobody offered me a lesson. I'm offering people lessons.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, I give lessons. I'll give you a lesson for free. If you want to learn anything that I'm learning, I will help you out because that's what I think this community needs. And that conversation didn't go over well. And I said, you know what? That's okay. Because I am not a type of person that gets deterred easily. So I said, I will make my own. I will make my own community and I will name it after myself. I said, what should I call it? Kelvin. Kelvin Catastrophe. That sounds cool. Right? But it was like too long. Right? See? Yeah, see? Then I was like, kill it, Kelvin. Corny. What can I do? Kelvin Kaoz. Oh, that's cool. Nobody spells it with a Z. Excellent.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Black alternative chaos. Too long. Alternative chaos. Cool, but I can shorten it. AltKaoz. All right. Here's the next step. I'm going to write all this music, all this alternative stuff. I'm going to produce all this music for these other alternative people who I know don't have the means to produce their own music. I'm pretty sure they have great ideas though. We're going to come out with a record label like Master P, except for it's going to be all Black alt. And Black alt doesn't just mean Black people that listen to rock, but Black people, any Black person who, you know, like me when I was playing violin, you know, that wasn't a thing. Friends that play harp. I have classically trained friends. I have friends that do calypso. I have friends that do, you know, that play in the mariachi bands. I have friends that do whatever. Yeah, anything possible, because when you practice a lot, you meet a certain type of artist that also practices a lot, and it's, you know, you just pick up whatever style. You're not thinking of things in genres. You're thinking, I want to challenge myself to do something that I can't do. And that's pretty much how my practice goes. Like, I'll wake up in the morning and be like, what can I not do today? And then I will work on that. And you meet a lot of people like that. And I'm like, okay, why are we not focusing on any of these people? They're either in bands that have an established sound and they're not allowed to do that thing.
Yeah.
Right? But then all your favorite bands have elements of everything. One of my favorite bands is No Doubt. And like, right? And I'm talking about the old, like, Return to Saturn stuff. Yeah. Not their, I mean, I like the newer stuff as well, the crossover stuff, but I meant like when they were still a band.
Yeah.
And like Sublime, you know, all the local bands, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers, because they sound so LA and their sound ends up, you know, influencing the rest of the world. And I was like, I want to have that sound. I want to harness that sound that's coming from here, where everybody's kind of throwing in whatever. and we're just like putting out records, putting together, you know, small groups, and maybe a large group like Parliament, you know, it was like 10, 12 person group, and it was split it up in 3s and 2s and 4s and stuff like that. And I just wanted to dominate all the local areas like that.
So fab. I'm so with it.
Like come up with a, you know, like a venue. I wanted a venue or like a weekly space where we bring, because again, there's lots of that out here. Like all the jazz cats, people fly out from wherever, move here, and they'll go to this place called the Federal, which is down the street from my house. And you can sit in, they'll, you know, be playing, you know, jazz standard, crazy hard jazz standards, you know, like, and then you go, you see the guy live and he's playing simple R&B songs with the Jordan Sparks covers. And you're like, damn, that guy is so good. And he's got to play behind these singers who sometimes don't even acknowledge him. And I've always thought that that was terrible. And again, like with R&B, it's like a lot of R&B sounds alike because, you know, the standard for singing is very high. So people really kind of focus on the singing and not on the creativity part. Okay. I mean, some artists do, but they're immediately called alt. Like Solange, you call Solange alt. And it's like, that's, to me, the evolution of R&B. It's not necessarily alt. Yeah. Right? Or even Tierra Whack or Hiatus Coyote or any of that stuff. They're like, oh, that's all like alt stuff. And I'm like, is it? Or is it just not what you're used to hearing?
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like, okay, what if we had a night where there was just that kind of music? We bring those artists up and we're jamming, you know, we're you know, just doing some weird stuff, something that's experimental, never been heard before. And I've always hosted a lot of things. I've been a very talkative guy my entire life. I've been in plays, I've been in theater, I've done all kinds of things. I've had TV, I've shot and directed short films. Yeah. And so I always see myself as like, if I can't hire somebody to be the host, then I'll just do it. And I'm like, yeah, everybody come on down, so-and-so is great, blah, 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 I need so-and-so on the show. That's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to build up all these smaller acts, you know, make new people, as opposed to, you know, kind of being selfish. What I've seen a lot of other artists do is, you know, that's my artist and he's got to go on before me, or he can't come before me, or he can't outshine me. And I'm like, no, I want my artist to outshine me. I want people to, you know, I want people to show me like, oh man, I'm going to come really hard and you got to come really hard because I'm coming really hard. I think that's the only way we can really be successful, especially, you know, in today. And I know a lot about the shady things that have gone on in the music industry. And I've had some shady things happen to me, and I wanted to create a space where, I mean, obviously some people could be unhappy with whatever deal that they get. And I understand that that's going to be a thing. But as far as it being the standard for things to be shady, I think is insane. It's the only business.
It's really wild.
Yeah, it's the only business in the world that it feels like the practices are unscrupulous and everyone is cool with that.
Fever 333, and you had to make your own labels. There's a lot of labels on the list that I made of Black-owned, like independent musicians that did it specifically because of really shady business practices in the music.
Yeah. And for me, I was like, I feel like I am good enough at this point to challenge any type of shadiness that occurs to me. But I've noticed that there's a ton of people that are very, very talented who will quit after something shady happens to them. And I've been like, man, but that person was so talented. I wish that they didn't quit. Or I wish that, you know, I had the ability to help them publish their music or to be able to help them make some type of money on it. And I was like, oh, I can. At first I was telling everybody, get your own publishing company. It's only $150. And they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to register my things, blah, blah, blah. I was teaching a class on it. People were still like, that's not how my brain works. I only want to do the creative part. And I said, well, if you want to forfeit 50% of the rights of your music to me, that is totally fine. But you have to be smart because there are people who are already out here. I'm a smart guy and I've been taken advantage of. So if you're not thinking business, it is very easy for you to be taken advantage of.
So easy.
Right? And that is going to affect your creativity more than doing this little business things together. Yeah. But like I said, me having the option, I said, well, you know, if you don't want to do it, then you can sign with me, you know, for however long, and I will try to push your songs as well. And that's been a newer thing for me because I don't have any connections technically. Like I don't know any people at Netflix or anything like that, but it's been a new venture for me to, you know, expand outside of just being a player, just being a performer, but to actually get into a whole nother realm of like sync licensing and stuff like that has been a new journey for me.
Yeah, that's really special. Congratulations on Alternative Chaos Publishing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's really cool. You know, empowerment. Does it feel good to share the knowledge?
Yes, yes, especially to this audience, particularly because I feel like I follow a lot of Black-owned business pages and stuff like that. You just never see any alt shout outs. It's like we don't exist to, they're like, support a Black-owned business. And, you know, it'll be like, so-and-so's collard greens, you know, or Doug's Bales bondsman, or, you know, or so-and-so's used cars. And I'm like, yeah, we do it. We have, you know, spooky shit. Like there's the Cold Corner store. I got friends that do like spell work, witchcraft stuff. I got friends that have their own clothing lines. I got friends that make like bling vampire teeth.
Oh, wow.
That are blinged out. Like you could get a vampire grill that's blinged out.
Really
right?
cool
like chokers, like everything. We're just as talented in the alt scene as we are in the rest of the world. Yeah, so if you're like, oh, we don't get no recognition, like we're always bigging up the, I want to call them normies, right? But be out there like, yes, man, I love Janelle Monáe, and nobody be shouting us out. We don't get no like, hey, Rico Nasty put on a dope album. Somebody get her in a TV show.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Or Aaliyah, we're all praising Aaliyah now that she's not here, you know, but she was like the OG. I know a lot of people
have got the original Afro goth of this era, for sure.
Yeah, this era. Yeah, even Jada Pinkett. Actually, man, that's so funny. This is a story I think is really funny. I almost got signed to Persia White's record label when I was like 23. Yeah, because she was doing a trip hop thing.
That's right.
And I didn't even know what trip hop was at the time. And I didn't think that my music at the time would have been, because I was just like, I just play guitar and sing. Yeah. And she's like, you have the look. And I was like wearing baggy button-ups at the time. Like I was not Kelvin Kaoz.
You were not quite there yet.
No, I was nowhere near it. I messaged her recently on Instagram. I was like, hey, do you remember me? And of course, like no response, but I was like, dang, I really fumbled that because she was doing that. Like I said, Jada Pinkett was doing that. There was a lot of people in that, you know, Hollywood scene at the time that were really, really into that and bringing more light to it. And then it just kind of went away. Like everybody was like,
disappeared, didn't it, Kelvin? It's like,
yeah. And I was like, there's no way that these people like Jada's got to still be into it, you know? Persia's got to still be into it. I feel like Idris Elba is probably onto some weird shit. Like,
definitely. Yeah, he made a like Dr. Octagon reference in that Obsessed movie. I was like, you listen to Doc Ock? Like, that's definitely like alternative hip hop shit. Like, that's cool.
And I'm thinking there's a ton, you know? It's like, there's got to be a gang because they grew up when we grew up. We grew up, you know, specifically, I'm thinking, I call it the playlist era. Is that we had moved away from CDs and, you know, where we're listening to one artist for a whole CD and we're making those compilation CDs where we're listening to like, you know, all of our musical things on one CD. Yeah. And I think that a lot of artists today, like such as myself, I call myself a playlist artist, is that my music sounds like a playlist, not like a genre. Well, I call the genre is called Chaos or Afro metal.
Ooh, I dig that.
But, you know, essentially it's like a playlist. Like it's something you'll hear. Sometimes you'll hear some country stuff. Sometimes you'll hear blues stuff. Sometimes you'll hear R&B straight up. Sometimes you'll hear old R&B or you'll hear modern R&B. You'll definitely hear metal. You'll definitely hear like rock and roll because those were all of my influences. And it always feels like a betrayal to not play all of them. For me, I gotta do them all. I gotta do everything. I gotta shout out everything that made me. I'd be damned if nobody else is like that. I know Issa Rae is like that, you know, and I'm like, yo, Issa, put one of us in one of your shows. Why is there no emo black boy?
Oh, where's the emo black boy?
Yeah, right? I was like, there's no goth e-boy.
So true.
Yeah, in South Central, you're alive because I know them, you know?
They're around, yeah. We're going to be seen.
Right. And, you know, and that's why I started thinking, I was like, man, I gotta have a movie or a TV show, or we gotta get together you know, where all of us are doing something, because it's a thing. We all want to see, like, every Black person I know loves horror movies. My mom was the first person to show me all the horror movies I ever saw.
Right, me too. Yeah.
Right, and then we saw like Lovecraft Country. Lovecraft Country was extremely popular because it's science fiction. Not just, I mean, yes, it's Black, but
it's horror science
more
fiction.
so it's a science fiction story that everybody can relate to.
By Jordan Peele and several other Black horror creatives, yeah.
Yeah, and after that, I was like, yo, people want this. People want to see more of this, regardless of the quality. You know, sometimes we think, well, it's not going to be like that. That was very good.
No,
but
yeah, that's true.
But I mean, like, I was like, I've seen Blackula, I've seen Bones. Like, I don't care. I just want to see us. It doesn't matter to me the quality of it.
So that's why you held AltKaoz Fest in June.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really cool lineup and energy. Why don't you tell us about that? Because that happened right before you released the Spook EP.
Yes, man, I love your research. You're like, this makes me feel so good because I'm normally the one that's doing all the research on people. So I was like, dang, this is what it feels like. This feels great. So yes, the AltKaoz Fest was that's why I created the page in the first place, was for the fest. The idea all along had been to make it like the Black alternative, but actually it was supposed to be like Afro punk, but with the punk in it, because, you know, Afro punk doesn't have a lot of punk in it. There are still artists that are doing their thing that do get to be at Afro punk, but I felt that a lot of the core part of it had been gone, and I wanted to stick with that. I did not want to be like, okay, let's get the crossover artist. I was like, nah, unless the crossover artist has the song with us in our style, I do not want that.
Yeah.
The other difference between me and Afro punk is Afro punk kind of starts with like, we're only punk, and then when they start to add the other influences, you're like, huh? But my thing was to start that way, where I'm adding in, primarily focused on artists that are different, regardless of the genre. So we had a rapper, the guy named Young Corey. There was an R&B singer named Shirae. They write, you know, traditional type of music, but they do it in a way that is not typically mainstream. Mm-hmm. Like, almost, to me, they're so close to the mainstream, I'm thinking you should just go for mainstream, because we're far.
That's so true.
Yeah, and then Zariah, you've probably heard of her.
Oh, yeah. DC, goth hop, just like genre-less in many ways.
Yeah, and I interviewed her. Yeah, and she's a lot like me. She had a background in theater.
I can see that. Yeah, she's very thespian-like, very theatrical. It comes out in her videos, too.
Right? So I had her. I had this guy, Asar the Eternal, who at the time, he had a different name, but that's his new name. And he's kind of like post-hardcore metal. Yeah, like post-hardcore, that kind of sound. He played a couple of tracks. Then I had this band, Lesibu Grand. Have you heard of them?
I haven't, actually.
They're my favorite indie band. They're like Black fronted, so the lead singer is Black, and then the bass player and the drummer are white guys. And I typically, I'm like, I like it to be mostly POC. I prefer not to give a space to white people. Again, not because I don't like you white folks, but you guys got a lot of spaces and we don't. So this space is clearly for people of color. When I see them, I'm like, Tyler's an amazing singer, amazing performer. She dresses like Sailor Moon during her performances a lot.
That's so cute.
Yeah, and then she just tons of energy, and their videos are phenomenal. The bass player, I think that he's a professional video editor, so their videos are phenomenal. Yeah, and then their production, like they had 3 cameras set up just to do my live stream. That part made me cry. Like, it was so high detailed. I was like, oh my God. And then I closed the show and I was like, whoa. And Roxy Vale was the host of the show.
Roxy! Oh, Roxy is such a rock star. I love you, Roxy.
Totally, right? So I was like, Roxy, I need you to host the show. And she's like, well, you know, it's not like I'm doing anything that day, so I guess.
Oh my gosh, what was it like? That must have been such a cool time.
But, well, it was stressful for me because I'm like running the live stream. I don't remember the app I was using, but I would never use this app again. but it was like people had to jump into the waiting room, and then I had to let them know that they were in the waiting room, but I also had to text Roxy to let them know that they were coming on. So then Roxy would have to, do this whole spiel like, "Good, coming to the stage, we have so and so." So then the feed would drop, and then I would have to come in and stall with her while the person got back on.
Oh snap! Yeah, that stall
Right?
time
Then
is what always brings you anxiety when you're streaming anything.
Yeah, then bring them in, and then I was also the last performer. So I was like, that's why I haven't done it since then, because I needed to find a way to make it more streamlined. Okay. But I've been thinking about bringing it back, not called Fest, but I'm doing a monthly thing where we do once a month, like on Saturday, like the first Saturday, the second Saturday of every month. We just have like 2 or 3 artists come in and do their thing, and I chat with them like on Zoom.
I think that would be really cool. I would love to tune into that. Yes, Kelvin.
Yeah. I just actually came up with that yesterday because my old teacher calls me and says, "Hey, I want you to tune into our old classical stuff. We miss having you there." And I was like, "Oh, this is a great idea. I should jack this idea."
Oh, that's a good idea. I was talking to some of the admins for Brew, like maybe we should get together and have a space for all, like alternative artists in general, like us.
Yeah, well, I was on Punk Black's virtual tour Friday,
right?
Yeah, and they give me a lot of my ideas because I started AltKaoz, I think, when they were at like 5,000 followers, and now they're at like almost 30. And I wanted to do what they were doing, but out here, because we don't have how they have like a lot of artists and people in the scene over there. We don't have that. Yeah, we don't have that here. We might have it here, but there's nobody that went out to collect them.
That's true.
So I said, well, that's crazy. There's no way that there's no Black people out here that don't want to do alternative music. We just they're thinking that nobody wants to hear it. So I said, maybe I need to set it up. So right before COVID is when I'm getting ready to do it. And I'm, in contact with Vaughn. Vaughn is the owner of Punk Black. And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I want to do this, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, do that shit." And he's like, "We'll post about it on our page, and we'll like just do a whole, where I wanted to get you guys, them, us. There's another group in Miami, and then there's Chico Area Metal, which is ran by this guy, Alex Arson, who you might also want to have on the show.
Sure.
And I was just collecting them like nationwide, and we could, set up tour destinations even would be cool, or have local shows. Like say I fly out to Miami, and my friend Brenda, she's out there, and she's like, "Okay, you're gonna play this show, and there's gonna be 4 people, and it's gonna be an AltKaoz show, or you're gonna play my show, and it's gonna be Bad Bitches." I forget what the name of her show is. And then there's Black Power Punk Girls in New York. Yeah, there's like a ton of us, and I'm just trying to get us all linked together. Yeah, and borrow artists from each other instead of I feel like everybody's trying to do their own thing and push it all together. And I was like, if there's so many of us and we're all kind of around the same age, I think it would be great if we just pulled our resources and just tried to work together a little bit more. Absolutely.
Do you have any favorite moments from the beginning of Kelvin Kaoz to now?
Yes. Okay. More specifically, I've always been into spooky shit. I've always been a very macabre kind of horror guy, but I just did not want anyone to know because I'm a school teacher. So my day job is that I legit teach at elementary schools, music and stuff like that. And the kids started finding my music, and my music's, I'm like chopping people up.
For real.
And I'm like, oh no, they're gonna find out. And then the parents did start finding out, and they were like, "Yeah, bro, bars." And I was like, it's macabre, but it's hard. Like you. Yeah. And that's even funny because I'm not a rapper. This dude made fun of me. He said, like, we did a rap song a long time ago where I was just playing guitars on them. And this dude was like, "Yeah, you sound so corny. Like, you sound like a professor. So we're just going to down pitch your voice." And I had the hardest verse on the song because I was the only one that was swagged out. Everybody else was like, "Okay, I'm going to put a bunch of syllables and metaphors together." And I was like, "Nah, I'm just going to do it slow like Pimp C." And Everybody liked it. They didn't even release the song because it was getting a lot of positive feedback. And I was like, damn, haters. Okay, so you guys told me I was whack, so I'm just going to make this little Spook EP. That was the first one. And I did that in like a week after I got kicked out of this band called Paradise Drive. And
you were in Paradise Drive? Yeah, life is funny like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I was in Paradise Drive for like a month.
Mm.
And then they broke up because everybody's on drugs.
Yeah, life is like that too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to keep it together as an artist, you know?
Yeah, but that particular thing, that shit was some fuck shit. And I was like, okay. I stepped outside of my zone because it was the opportunity to play with, 4 alternative Black dudes. And we had plans on doing a whole like YouTube channel, like a zine. Like we were going to do the whole thing. We're going to do it. Like it was going to be cool. Then shit hits the fan, and I was like, okay, I don't want to stop, so I'm gonna make the Spook EP again to kind of spite these people who are like, you're trash, blah blah blah. I made the Spook EP. That's where the Fresh Prince of Darkness was born, right? And I just kept saying it, and after that, it caught on. I was like, the Fresh Prince of Darkness is pretty cool. Like, how come nobody used this? I'm thinking. Nobody thought to say that before, like in all the 20 years this shit's been out. I'm the only one. Okay, I guess it was for me then.
Yeah.
So I did that. Well, that one in particular, like, cause yeah, I did that EP in 1 week, and I finished it on Halloween, and I dropped it like at 12:01. And that was my favorite moment. It was like the Fresh Prince of Darkness, the lore, like everything that I had created. I had made that all in a few days, just mostly out of spite because I was upset with this situation that I had just left, but I'm also very petty, and I would not give anybody any clout by talking about them directly. So I'm just going to, like, it was just a lot of subliminals, but it was like so subliminal, like you can't even tell that it's about.
Perfect.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want anybody to even know that I know these niggas, to be honest.
Real shit.
I want to give them no fucking clout. Fuck them. And I put that thing out, and yeah, everybody was like, yes, the Fresh Prince of Darkness. Oh my gosh. And then if you've ever listened to my podcast, I have a lot of names. I have the Sephiroth of South Central, Rob Zombie's stepbrother through marriage, the deity of Decibel, the Black Chris Jericho.
So cool.
Yeah, Ghostface, he does that, where he's just like giving you a lot of his own nicknames that he's making up for himself.
Yeah.
And I thought, this would be really funny. Like, everything was a joke for me. It was just like hilarious. I'm a guitar player. That's what I'm thinking. I am a guitarist. Everybody knows I play guitar. Nobody's going to take any of this rap shit seriously. Then people started referring to me exclusively the Fresh Prince of Darkness. I get DMs where people are like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Fresh Prince of Darkness. And this shit worked. Oh my God. I'm so happy.
Hell yeah, it worked, Yes, because it's always about new vision. It's always about thriving beyond the obstacles and being Black and rocking.
Yes, and that was my intention the whole time, was just to be a rock star.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I wanted to figure out how to do it. It was so hard. Rock music wasn't popular anymore by the time, I was like, okay, let's start a band. It was like, who is the biggest rock artist? I guess it was Greta Van Fleet, and they sound like Led Zeppelin.
And they do sound a lot like Led Zeppelin.
Can I just do that? My favorite band is Deep Purple. Right? And my favorite singer is Ronnie James Dio. So I was like, what if I was like Richie Blackmore and Dio was one person? That is me, truly. And then the swag of Prince, that's where the Fresh Prince comes from. Will Smith, because of the rap. Prince, because Prince. R&B, yeah. And then Ozzy Osbourne, Prince of Darkness. Right?
That's awesome, Kelvin. I really appreciate you linking all that together.
No, I'm glad you told me, because like, again, a lot of people don't notice it at first, and I'm like, my intention is to get you to hear it through the music and go like, hey, I feel like I hear like you're doing a lot of things. I'm like, yeah, but it's all controlled chaos. I'm an only child, and I have a lot of free time.
No, I love that. Like, it's really cool to be part of this, this connected world and this platform that you got, Kelvin.
Thank you. Now I'm glad because again, I'm very intentional what I do and how I create things and what I make. I want to be like a Lovecraft or, somebody that leaves behind this like giant legacy of things to build off of. And you go, I want to take that and build off of that and add to your lore, add to your world, or even create my own. That's what I want. I want all these worlds of creativity to intermingle with each other. And this endless vat of creativity to be drawn upon. So we're not ever, thinking like, oh, my music's not good enough or any of that. And I wanted to create, not necessarily a new, but, put together an audience of people where, some of us can feel like, our stuff isn't good. It's not that it's not good. It's that we're trying to play it for people who don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I was playing my music for rap friends and they're like, your rapping sucks. And I was like, no, it doesn't. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, is what it does. No, I'm not out here spitting fucking Nas bars or nothing like that, but I'm making music for a particular group of people, and I want those people to hear me shout them out. I'm not talking to dudes in BK because that's not where I'm from, and I didn't grow up doing that. What does it look like I'm talking about selling drugs? I never sold drugs in my life.
It's not your lifestyle, yeah.
Yeah, but you're listening to Rick Ross talk about I sold drugs. That nigga's a fucking PO.
He's a PO.
Yeah, and that's fake as fuck. And everybody's like, yeah, Rick Ross is one of the greatest. So it's like, his whole shit is a lie. I rap about spooky shit and that's it.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about, Kelvin. You were truly a vanguard and groundbreaking. We're down for any more insights you have before we sign out, my friend.
I do have some things that I want to share with my friends, with all of you out there. A couple of things that I do on my show is if I could work with any artist, living or dead, who would it be? And I would definitely have done a whole album with Prince and Dio, with me on the guitar. Well, both of them on the guitar. Dio is a sick bass player. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh yeah, he was. Understated, but very.
Yeah, and Prince, everybody knows his legendary, ability to songwrite. But Prince was really dark too. But we don't hear that side. And I've always wanted to hear, Dio get back to his more R&B roots, because I don't know if you ever heard his albums in the 60s.
I did. Very soulsy, very kind of bluesy. I was like, what's going on
Yeah, he was doing
here?
like straight up like doo-wop in the 60s. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, what if him and Prince had done a song and I'm in the back like, like that would have made me happy.
It would have been a dream come true.
Yes, totally. With Hendrix, I don't even know what he would be doing. Like, I was like, if Hendrix is there, then I don't need to be there. So I guess I could just be in there conducting. The next question that I ask is, if I had a blank check, if I had millions of dollars, what would I invest in? And that would be a community for alternative artists of color. So a boarding room situation. There's this place in LA called St. Elmo's Village, where there's a little apartment building that they have that's connected to the arts school. And what they do is they take I want to say 10 artists, and they allow them to live there for a couple of years. But two things, they have to teach classes, and then they also have to have a master project that they're working on that they have to present every quarter. And I've always thought that was extremely cool. It's run by 2 Black people, and they have, so much art that they have done over the course of the years, and they've worked with a lot of very famous artists as well. And a lot of people that start there end up doing really awesome things. And I've wanted, my school to be more like a conservatory where I'm taking these very, very talented, artists and musicians, and I'm giving them a way to really create their own way. As a person that studied classical music, it's like there was a whole world that I experienced that once you're out of that world, it's like you don't really get to experience that anymore unless you're in it. And a lot of people of color don't get to experience that at all because, either you have to be really, really good or you got to deal with the racism and stuff. It would be really cool to, be able to create without the guidelines of this white supremacist, thing around, to just be like, I want to create freely without having to worry about, if Whitey likes it. You know,
It's so true.
would be awesome. So, and again, that would funnel to the festival, right? And then I would take these people on tour. We would do a fest. The festival would be traveling. It would go all over the world, Africa, DR, like all the places where there's people of color. My goal is to, well, that would be that. That's the end. I'm gonna stop there. Okay, and lastly, advice that I have to people that are coming after me: be yourself unapologetically. All of your ideas are good ideas. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because they're just posers. That is true. Every single idea you have is gold. All you have to do is dust it off, bring it to somebody who encourages you to alchemize it or to turn it into something useful, and really don't betray yourself by not pursuing it. Don't say, oh, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Don't say, oh, I put that thing down, or I don't think it's gonna be that good. To me, that's really the only true way to stave off depression, no matter what you have going on, is to stay within your purpose. If you can stay focused on your goal, then I don't know, I feel like it eradicates your depression, because you know that you went through all of that stuff to bring this thing here.
Validating.
Yeah, and if you don't do it, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm so sad. And I'm like, well, have you worked on your goal? And if you're like, no, I'm like, well, there you go. So thank you.
Thank you for that manifestation. Keep the momentum and the hope in yourself alive.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes, Kelvin, this is not going to be the last time. We definitely have to catch up, brew talk or not, my dear.
Yeah, let's be friends. Let's be buds.
Hey,
Hey, everybody, I want to remind you 3 things. Stay hydrated, stay inside, and stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Yes, that's the advice of the century. Stay spooky, stay red, and stay black with the brew crew. On High Vibrations, signing out. Kelvin Kaoz and Nicole Kali.